Welcome to another edition of Arts Alive Music, where we celebrate the great diversity of music making on Merseyside. In particular, there's a great tradition of choral singing in the region, and we begin here at the Hoylake Chapel, where the Hoylake Choral Society are rehearsing for their forthcoming concert. David, tell me, how long have you been with the choir?
I've been with the choir since September last year.
And is this the first time you've worked with an amateur choir like this?
No, actually, I've been doing this sort of thing for quite a few years. Before I moved up to the northwest, again, I'm from Wrexham originally, but I spent about 8 years down in South Wales, and I worked with several choirs down there. Cardiff Male Choir, for example, Dorothy Adams Singers Choir in Newport, a ladies' barbershop choir called Cardiff Style. They were great. So yeah, quite a mix. Church choirs as well. So this isn't the first time now.
But you're a professional musician. I mean, you're working with professional musicians yourself. I mean, is it a big difference to come and work with a bunch of enthusiastic amateurs?
No, I'm a teacher, so it's the same sort of thing. I've been quite lucky that most of my teaching career I've been actually working in higher education. So I've always tended to work with older students generally, and those students, they're not just 18 in those environments, so I'm quite used to a range of abilities and a big age range, really.
Sure. And do you find there's any tension at all between the sense that this is an amateur choir, they've come out on a Wednesday evening to have a bit of a sing, and your desire to get them to the highest possible standards?
No, not really. I think that the key from my perspective is that I think whatever stage you're at, you're going to have some self-doubt in whether you can achieve it. And I think what I tend to do is to encourage people to push harder and encourage them to have confidence in what they can do. I think there are members of the choir that don't believe they are all that good at reading music, for example, but they're great. They're absolutely fine. And they just need a bit of gentle encouragement now and again, reminding that we can do it, we can achieve it.
I mean, you were putting them through some extremely complicated warm-up routines, I thought, which must test them quite a lot.
Yeah, it does do. I mean, my strategy really with warm-ups is it's a gentle warming in of the voice, getting the air flowing through the system, all those kinds of things, loosening up, making sure there's no tension and pushing from the wrong places, making sure it's all coming from the right place. So there's quite a few exercises that are quite calm and relaxed, and I tend to build through. That's what any singing teacher would do anyway. But I always like to counteract that with brain teasers and things, because it gets us thinking, it wakes us up, not only our voices but our minds. It's 8 o'clock on a Wednesday evening, so we've all had hard days and we just need rejuvenating a little bit before we launch into it. And you really need that for Rutter, for example, and the Poo-Rock stuff.
So it's quite a psychological skill, really, isn't it, to keep them motivated and happy and reaching your levels of expectation?
Yeah. I don't know whether I always achieve that, to be honest, but I try, yeah. And I think that for the most part the choir are responsive, and certainly the development has been great since September. We're really working towards finding our own sound, because this is a unique group of people. They come together and they have their own unique sound. We don't want to sound like any other choral society, we want to sound like Hoylake, and that's what we've been doing. We've been trying to find that sound through warm-ups, through energising, through thinking about how we do vowel shapes, the diction, pitching as well, all those elements. And the vocal exercises are generally planned week on week around what we're going to be doing. For example, one of the exercises I did then was very focused towards Vivaldi, the fast notes that occur in Vivaldi, whereas the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s that I tend to do were more energising, so that we can get through something like Rutter.
In a curious way, I found it relaxing for them. I mean, it was quite amusing, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that's part of it. If you come to the concerts sometimes, you won't see this because I'm obviously facing the other way from the audience, so I can do whatever I like. But I'm doing lots of faces, gestures, really trying to excite them in some way. It's really important. But those exercises, the humour element at times, it brings out the smiling, and the smiling a lot of the time gives us the tone that we require, and also the tuning that we require, the pitching.
Can we talk a bit about the music that you're actually singing? You're doing 3 Glorias.
Yeah.
Vivaldi, very popular, very accessible, very tuneful. The rutter that we've been listening to is actually quite, I should have thought, hard to sing, isn't it?
Yeah. There's lots of, it's fast. There are lots of awkward rhythms to sing, not only to sing in terms of actually finding where the notes are in the bar, where they're supposed to be sung at the right time, etc., but also in terms of then getting the right tone through those notes because they're going fast. But also, Rutter tends to do this sort of polyrhythmic thing where he's essentially playing 2/3 and things like that, and that can be difficult for the choir when I'm counting a 3 and they're really singing in 2 over the top of it. But if you do it in 2, the feel isn't right. So it's amazing those differences. If you wanted it in 2, you would have written it in 2. So yeah, there's a lot of tricky things in there, really.
So what informs your choice of programme?
This time, I think it's about pushing the choir on further. It's about encouraging them, and in some cases, enabling them to overcome the self-doubt that they have as to whether they can achieve it. We did a little bit of preparation in the Christmas concert. We did a little bit of preparation for the Rutter by doing some other smaller Rutter anthems. So there's been a bit of a learning curve into that. And another thing is my love of symmetry. 3 Glorias makes sense. It's a little journey. It's a little journey through time. So yeah, it's quite interesting. There's a real contrast because you've got Vivaldi, which is extremely Baroque classical in its approach. You've got Rutter, which has lots of jazz, pop, rock elements in it, as much as obviously quite straight classical writing. And then you've got the Poulenc, which has quite dark characteristics, some kind of gothic qualities, but some extremely beautiful melodies that sort of float and interweave within each other in this really quite complex harmony. So I think really it was fulfilling my ideal symmetry of the performance, and it was also taking the choir on a sort of learning journey through each of the pieces, reviving something that they've done before quite a while ago. They haven't done Vivaldi recently, but also pushing them into new pieces that the majority of the choir haven't done before, that are pushing them technically and musically in terms of their learning and development.
And as well as challenging the choir, are you challenging the audience a bit?
I don't think so. I think maybe in the variety that's in the programme. Yeah, in terms of what we're expecting them to turn their eyes and ears, mostly ears, I think. We're expecting them to turn their ears to a big range of material, but I think there's an accessibility that comes through the sort of lyricalness of all of the music. They've all got very kind of beautiful melodies in them, and I think that kind of unifies them. Although they're stylistically different, there's a thread, there's a commonality through the 3. So no, I don't think so. I think it's going to go very well. I'm confident.
I'm Kate Wotton and I'm the chairman of Hoylake Choral Society. I've been chairman for 5 years, I think now.
How long have you been in the choir?
I've been in the choir for 8 years.
And as chair, have you got all sorts of ambitions for it?
Yeah, we have. We've had quite a change with David coming in. We felt that we could go into a different direction because there's lots and lots of choirs, choral societies, pop music groups on Wirral and around Liverpool, and we wanted to try and develop something different. But more than that, we wanted to try and develop our own unique voice and work out who we really are.
And have you decided?
We're getting there. We're trying new music. We've done a lot of Rutter, we've done some Vivaldi, we've done some modern pieces in the past. We're now trying to hone our style with Rutter and to really get to grips with the different styles.
And some of the members of the choir have obviously been here some time. Has there been any resistance to that?
We were quite worried initially that we would lose quite a lot of people because David is very different to our past musical director. But surprisingly, no, we haven't. They've really embraced his style. And I think part of it is that he's really teaching us how to use our voices, how not to strain ourselves, how to enjoy ourselves. We joke, we do a lot of warm-ups, and we really enjoy it.
And I was asking David this question as well, which is sometimes with choirs, you get the sense that you turned up, it's a Wednesday evening, you've just come for a jolly good relax and a sing, and you don't really want to be made to work too hard. Is that a problem?
No, because surprisingly, if I was to say to you we didn't really practice a lot out of the rehearsals prior, we are now avid rehearsers at home. We take our CDs really seriously. We drive all over the country singing them and practicing because we know that we've got to really please David when we come in. It's almost like having a teacher that you don't want to disappoint and you don't want to let down.
And you mentioned that there's a great wealth of choral society and choral singing around Merseyside generally. I mean, do you feel yourself not exactly in competition with them, but the need to keep hold of that audience of yours?
We did do. Funnily enough, now we don't, because we think that going into a slightly different direction, singing the way we want to sing with our kind of music, differentiates us from other choirs. We actually spend quite a lot of time with other choirs as well. Some of us are members of other choirs. We go to each other's concerts, not to sort of seek out and look at the competition, but to just sort of get some ideas and support them as well. So we try and work together rather than in competition.
And ambitions?
We want to try again to improve our style, improve our voices. We're going to start to have some workshops run by David at weekends so that we can offer the choir some more training, and perhaps start to revisit singing 3 concerts a year, trying to get different audience members in, going for younger audiences, getting some younger members in as well so we can change the style again.
I was going to say, presumably the business of recruiting members is continual.
Yeah, we have a very, very open sort of recruitment policy. Anybody who likes singing can come along. And we have people who come along and try for a few weeks, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Amazingly, we have lots of people who come along for a few weeks, go and then come back because they really enjoy it. And again, we have members who stay for a number of years, go for a bit of a sabbatical and then come back again. So it's a very sort of open door policy, but we like people to enjoy themselves. They don't have to have a really strong musical background, just as long as people can read music and they enjoy singing.
And all voices?
All voices, particularly men, always men.
You can hear the concert at the Hoylake Chapel on the 16th of May. Join us after the break, where we're talking colour-coded guitars and previewing an interview with the Phil's new conductor emeritus, Sir Andrew Davies. Welcome back. Steve Kinsey has developed a simple way to make it easier to play music, the colour-coded fretboard.
Well, from my point of view, I think it's great for everybody to access music and to be able to make music, to play an instrument. For me, it's the greatest thing in my life, and I think it's a very positive thing for people to be able to play music and make music.
We're both songwriters, and being able to express yourself through music is really important to both of us. Being able to be creative through music is it's a massive part of our lives, isn't it? So
yeah.
we click through that.
I think music is something that really can unite people from whatever background, whatever ability, and whatever age group, really. Music is just something that goes right across the board.
Blue number 2.
Yeah, well, the colour fret thing for me was just to simplify the whole process of learning the guitar. And so I picked the primary colours, red, blue and yellow, and then green and white, and tried to pick some colours that to match the notes on a guitar. So B for blue, G for green. And I thought that way, with the colours, it just makes the whole process a lot more simpler than trying to remember 5th, 7th and 9th fret. It's a lot easier to go with the colours.
We're able to get participants playing a song within 20 minutes as it's happened in the past, and that's something to see when you get a group of 6, 7, 8-year-olds not only learning a couple of songs but doing a gig that day. It was quite an amazing experience. So, it's given us the... we did a few taster sessions to get an idea of it, and I think that was really the fueled the fire really and got us going.
I mean, we do have plans to kind of expand this, obviously going to the keyboard can be coloured, and also drums as well, so that the whole colour thing is expanded throughout the musical range. This particular project at the moment is the first kind of funded project that we got off the ground, but we've done little taster sessions and we've got obviously things in the pipeline, but it's not been something that's happened overnight. There's been a lot of thought and process gone into the whole idea.
I think that because it can, well, I think we both really believe that it can be adapted to any age, certainly, any ability, and I feel very driven to kind of prove that really, and work with older people from the very, very young to the very, very old, and I'm excited to find out what happens when you introduce a guitar to somebody who's maybe in the 70s, 80s, who may have been interested in music in the past and has lost that interest, and I'm excited to maybe rekindle that in this kind of group situation.
I think the other thing that we don't really delve into is the kind of the aspect of being able to read music or have to follow notation or anything like that, because that kind of, just for me, it's something that gets in the way of making music really, in the initial stage certainly. What we tend to do is we run a course over 8 weeks, so we tend to get hold of the pupils or the people involved, and we learn certain numbers and certain songs, and we condense it rather than drag it on for weeks and weeks and weeks and stretch it out. We set ourselves a goal and a target to have a concert at the end of 8 weeks, and so that then we've always got a focus, we've always got something to aim for.
And we can work in community centres, we working in residential homes.
Yeah.
We're not based solely at the Boys and Girls Club in Hillstown. We'll work anywhere in the North West. So we have a website, colour-caster.co.uk. There's emails on there. Contact Steve, telephone number. steve@colourcaster.co.uk. Email, all the usual stuff. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and as Steve says, it probably feels like the start, but there's been a lot of work got in behind the scenes. So it's new, but we're excited to see what.
And again, what we want to do, we want to get people interacting more. We want to get people away from sitting at the tablets, sitting on the phones, sitting at the computers, and get back to making music and interacting with one another, which is still the greatest thing, and the amount of response that we get from it, certainly the young people that you've met today, it really gives them something in their life to cherish and be excited about, which we also appreciate.
Yeah. So one important point is that we don't charge for the classes, and right from the off we discussed that, and it was kind of one of the core principles, if you like, that we didn't want anybody paying for the classes. So the courses, the classes are funded by grants. So we can't do a class without a grant. So we're always on the lookout for funding opportunities.
But like John said, we want it to be free and available to everybody who wants to access, so that they don't have that stumbling block of thinking, well, I've got to pay for this. We want it to be free to access.
It's another barrier removed, as is simplifying the process of learning an instrument. It's just one of the core principles of what we do. No charging, remove any of the complicated things from learning an instrument, and really have fun with it.
Yeah, it's all about having fun.
One of Britain's most distinguished conductors, Sir Andrew Davies, has just accepted the honorary title of Conductor Emeritus at the Liverpool Phil. Next week we'll show you Stephen Pratt's full interview with Sir Andrew, but for now, here's a taste of what we can expect.
Andrew, welcome. And I'm tempted to say welcome back, because Liverpool was very much a part of your early career, wasn't it?
Humongously important, yes. I first was here in 1969 for a 2-week seminar for young British conductors, which was, I remember staying in dormitories of the Liverpool University, I think, with the rehearsal orchestra, who were also up here. And we stayed up all night one night watching the moon landing in 1969. So sort of the two events are inextricably linked in my mind. And then I came back actually. The next season I came back, and it was sort of tinged with tragedy, really, because I don't know whether you remember, but you remember the young conductor Gordon Mackey?
Very well, yes. He was in the first seminar, wasn't he? Was he?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah,
yes, and he was due to conduct half a concert in which Walton was conducting Belshazzar's Feast in the second half, and he was killed most tragically. He was standing in a taxi queue outside Victoria Station, I think, and that's before they had barriers up, and
I remember.
Some car went ploughing into a bunch of people, and he died. It was very sad. So, and I remember it was the Bizet Symphony in C, which actually I'm very fond of, but I don't think I've done it since, as a matter of fact. And then I think there was a period when I was principal guest conductor in the mid-70s. I don't remember exactly the year, for 3 years or something. And then I went to Toronto and had a little less time, but I used to come back fairly regularly. And then there was a long time, of course, when I was exclusive with the BBC Symphony Orchestra, all through the 90s when I wasn't here at all. And then I think I was here, the last time, they told me it's 7 years ago. It's amazing how time flies. And I mean, we did a Viennese program at the time when there was a Klimt exhibition on in town, and the Queen came. But I've always had a tremendous affection for this orchestra and this hall. I love the Phil. I love the way it looks. You know, it's a very late deco building, isn't it? Actually, what, 39 it was built, I think? I think, was it? Oh, okay. Or whatever.
We'll be showing the full interview with Sir Andrew next week. Join us then.